storm.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on The Supernatural Show. And this is a show that is not for entertainment purposes only. And today we're going to be getting into the time warp and discussing that right after this short 2-minute interlude.
So dreamy, oh fantasy free me, so you can't see me, no, not at all, in another dimension, with voyeuristic intention, well secluded, I see all,
with a bit of a mind flip,
you're into the time slip,
and nothing can ever be the same.
You're spaced out on sensation,
Like you're under sedation.
let's do time warp again, let's do time warp
Okay, guys, so like I said before, that little interlude that I put out as a promotion for this show today, we're going to talk about a subject matter that is extremely supernatural sounding. And I realize that. And I cannot stand here and tell you that the dark side has for sure the ability to do this. However, I'm going to show you a lot of things that make me wonder. And I've been wondering about this for about 7 years now. About 7 years ago, I put out videos talking about a time reset, and it ended up coming out to be the Great Reset, as we first heard about it back in around 2020, the Klaus Schwab World Economic Forum Great Reset. So I got the reset part right, but this time element is still bothering me. And as I plan to do this show today, it just happens that today, of all days, is the Back to the Future Day. This is their Back to the Future Day, is what they're calling it. So we're going to dive right into that. I want to let y'all guys know that I have y'all guys here in the studio with me as a guest on the show with your comments here. So everybody be nice, because I do have someone watching the comments. And if you say perverted things or trying to advertise anything that's not righteous, and there's no way for me to tell the difference in just a comment. So just be good, okay? Because y'all guys are in the show with me here. So how do we even start this? I guess we'll just share my screen here. Okay, and I'll take you and we'll go through some things together. Well, most of you know that this right here is an image from CERN. And you see this thing here. Oops, I just zoomed it back out by accident. This thing here, this loop. Okay. What that is, it is many things I could say about it, but I'll just say it represents time, okay? The time loop, okay? That's what this represents. And it's interesting, too, as well, that it's sitting behind this thing here, which I'd have to double check, but I believe that this is their star in a bottle project. This star in a bottle means it's like a sun, an artificial sun created out of machinery, okay? Because see, what they do is they study nature. In order to invent anything that's ever been invented, nature had to be studied, even the wheel, okay? You had to realize that you seen a rock roll down the hill and realize that the ones that were like a wheel rolled better. The ones that were like a square didn't roll very good. So anyways, they study nature and they figured out a lot of things. Now, have they figured this out? Time slip, time warp? It's hard to say, but I will say this. You see, most of us know about something called the Mandela effect. This Mandela effect is an altering of history at a minimum, okay? It's an altering of history in a extremely supernatural way, where it even alters the Bible. And we've done complete shows on that subject of the Bible being altered. And it is a fact that not only the Bible has been altered, but all types of media have been altered, okay? One of the ones that I remember that I heard about first was Luke, I am your father. And of course, that's a phrase from Star Wars. I think it was Star Wars. Yeah, Star Wars. And the crazy thing is that it never happened. It's no longer in the movie. Even if you have an old VHS or something like that, it's not in there. It was supernaturally altered. So they do have ability to at least alter history. Okay. Now, what am I showing you here? I'm showing you an Illuminati playing card. And a few of you already see a resemblance in symbolism to something I just showed you just a minute ago. This card is called Tape Runs Out. Tape runs out. Tape runs out? Okay. See this this tape here? Does it look familiar now? Tape runs out. The tape in this is time. Okay? it represents time. And of course, here's the globe back here, or symbolism of the globe, of a globe, and you have it here as well. And these guys actually like to work like this. They will put literally the truth out there, but if you're not well researched enough, and few people have the time that I have, and the only reason I have this time is because of the support of y'all guys. You're the ones that, the guys out there, y'all guys who have donated a few dollars to this show over the years. You're the reason that I'm able to understand these things, be able to see it, as well as the gift from the Holy Spirit, which brought many things to my mind today when I was meditating in bed. I was going to lay down and take a little meditation, maybe a little nap, and I couldn't even go to sleep because of the revelations that were pouring in about the show today that I'm doing. So I had to get up and come out and get some things ready for y'all guys. So now I have a lot to show you on this, so we've got to kind of keep moving here. But I want to show you this again. Okay, and let me read this to you. Okay, and that way you can see that this is about time. This tape is time. All right, let me prove it to you. This is what the card says. Now, this is Illuminati playing card. This is a game, supposedly, that was introduced back in 1995. And there are so many cards in this box that have came true already. It would blow your mind if you don't know about this. Okay, it was put out, like I said, in 1995, and in 1996 these people started going postal, and they have a card in here says going postal, and it shows someone with a gun going into a post office. That was a prediction in this game that was just off by 1 year. Okay, but they got it right. And there's many of them, like the Twin Towers and the Pentagon and all these things that have happened back in 2001. And even the whole planned demonic thing that happened in 2020, where everybody went around and got something jabbed in them. That is in there as well. It's all in there. Remember back when Black Lives Matter and all that, they were going around tearing down statues? That's in there as well. I think it's called Crush the State. Anyways, it shows all these statues being torn down, and it's in there. It's literally their game in a pack of cards. Okay, so let's read this to you, though, so that way you know this is about time, and I'm right. It says, when the rapture comes, so they're admitting that it's coming. When the rapture comes, I'll make them wait. What is I'll make them wait about? It's time. It's wasting time. It's doing something to do with time. Then it says, they'll never clean my cage. They'll never clean my cage. Now, what's in a cage? What's in a cage is like a beast or something that you don't want out of the cage. Okay, that kind of thing. It says they'll never clean my cage, meaning, he's gonna be there for a long time. And it says, now give me some more of, and it just says tape runs out. Give me some more of time, or give me some more of normalcy and things going the way it were, or give me the rapture, which is called about here. But it says, give me some more of ... Tape runs out. Good try. Too bad something went wrong. This card may be played immediately after any other plot is played for any purposes. That card is canceled. Both cards are discarded. Use of this card requires either an action from your Illuminati or 3 other plot discount cards. So the big point here I'm making about this is this represents the wheels of time, and this ribbon here represents time, and everything exploding and being completely different. It's splitting, like time splitting. Okay, so with that being said, let's move on through our other things because we've got a lot. Now, has anything recently happened where they've come out and put something out that is a reference to time warping? Yeah, there is. You're looking at it. It's called Operation Warp Speed. Okay, that comes from Star Trek, of course. And you can see that it's a cube like the Borg cube. We will assimilate you. It's futile to resist us. That Borg, they were half human, half machine. Okay, we will assimilate you. And what were they doing? What did they do during this Operation Warp Speed? They assimilated them. They're now part something else and part human. And I know there's someone listening right now that took it, and it's freaking you out. All I can tell you is to get on your knees, talk to Father upstairs, and work it out with him. But here we have Operation Warp Speed. Warp Speed is a term that was used in Star Trek that meant that they were going to jump time. They were going to go extremely fast, just like it's showing in the imagery here. You can see all the little blue lines streaming in, just like it showed on Star Trek. You say, Star Trek, you talking about a movie. We're talking about media. This image, just like Star Trek, is them showing us their plans, okay? Them showing us what they're doing, what they're going to be doing. And how did they do this Operation Warp Speed? With this little thing here. Showed you an imaginary enemy, an imaginary plan demonic, and told you it was real, and some of you believed it. And if you believed it and donned a mask, then you sold out to it, or the people that did. Now, I know there's a few of you here that maybe put a mask on one day and said, I ain't doing that no more. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people that put it on, kept it on, and even some of them are still wearing them today. I'm seeing them at the stores still, and I'm sure y'all guys are too. See the blue line streaming in? That's all warp kind of imagery of time being crossed. Okay? So we have a logical tie-in just in this, that this is crediting the possibility of the idea of this and of this. Time runs out. What have they been telling us? They've been telling us time's up. In the reset. They've been doing it for years. So let's keep going. Do we have any other thing that may be possibly tied to this that's going on right now? Well, recently Trump announces Operation Aurora, and the amazing thing is that there were auroras in the skies that night when he was in Aurora, all the way to Florida. There were auroras, and it just happens to be comes out, and he calls it Operation Aurora because we're going to kick some illegal immigrants out of the country. No, it's much deeper than that. It's much deeper than that. Operation Aurora is talking about the auroras that we've been seeing. Okay? It's connected to that. It means something. I've told you my opinion of what I believe it means. It's the arrival of the Antichrist spirit that will ultimately have a host, and likely will be a man and a woman combined into one body, a trans type person. He will be, or she will be, or it will be beautiful in a way, and they will be powerful, very much so. But that's what I think this is about. But I also know that this Aurora thing has something to do with this time thing as well. At least that's how I feel. And we also have another operation, as they like to call them, going on. And you can see here, this is Charles, and they've said he has something that's going to kill him or take him out early, and he won't be able to be king for that long. Either William or the red-headed one, Harry, will take his place. And of course, if you listen and believe anything they say, then it sounds like ridiculous that I would even mention Harry. But there's a reason. Now, this is Operation Menina Bridge. It is the operation or the planning of Charles's funeral. Now, Menina means chaos. Okay, so chaos bridge. But I wondered why bridge? Why did they use bridge? And yes, this is the Menina Bridge that actually exists in Great Britain over there. Okay, the bridge here. That's an image of it. But why did they say bridge? Are you crossing something? Are you crossing from one something to another something? Bridging two things together? Combining two things together? Is that what's going on? Is that something have anything to do with time? I can't say for sure. Now, one thing I also know is that when they put out media, it's purposeful. When they put out movies that they spend millions and millions of dollars in, and all these fancy actors to get you to go watch it, there's a reason. All these here, these are all images of time travel movies. Okay. Now, there's a reason why they've spent so much effort when they could be selling you something else, but they're selling you time travel. They're selling it to you like it's real. But if you ask them straight up, of course, they'll say no. But then they've got CERN over there. And what is CERN? What is CERNunos? Well, we're going to get to that here in just a minute. Of course, Back to the Future comes greatly to mind. We're going to talk about that a little bit more probably here in a minute. When it comes to, time travel movies, it's probably the one that most people remember the most. But there's a lot of them. But another one that came out was Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass, or whatever the actual movie was called. And there was a character in the movie, which was played by Sasha something Bowen, or whatever his name is. And his name in the movie was Time. And this is a scene where he was walking out on this bridge. Okay, well, there's the bridge again. He was walking out on this bridge. That is significant. And all these clocks are hanging in the sky, almost like stars. And each clock is tied to a person's life, is the way it played out in the movie. I can't really play this, but for copyright reasons, but I wanted to point out that Alice. Now, if the word Alice has anything to do with time travel, it'll have something to do with CERN. Oh, and guess what? It does. So here's the CERN website, and one of their projects they've got the name for over there is called Alice. It says Alice detects quark gluon plasma, a state of matter thought to have formed just after the Big Bang. So, Big Bang my butt. But I almost made it funny there, didn't I? Anyways, they're talking about Genesis, the creation, like Genesis in the Bible. Genesis is creation, okay? And so they're talking about studying creation. Now, how can you study creation without studying time? And here we have, again, the name Alice, which is clearly tied in their occult movies and all this, clearly tied to time. So we've got the Alice thing going on over there. And there are other things that are interesting too many, many things about CERN. We're going to talk about a couple in this show today, and I appreciate y'all guys being here. Yeah, Stargate, 9/11 on the clock of Back to the Future. Yeah, it was that stuff. It was all over it. Yep. Okay, so this is another CERN webpage that says cryogenics, low temperatures, high performance. It says CERN's cryogenic systems cool over 1,000 magnets on the LHC to temperatures close to absolute zero, where matter takes on some unusual properties. Down here, it tells you what they consider absolute zero, and that is negative 271.3 degrees Celsius. Negative 271 degrees, 0.3 Celsius. That is cold. You know what else actually uses extremely low temperatures like that? Well, one, where's it at? This did. It was required that the snakebite was kept at a temperature of around 271 degrees Celsius. You reckon that's a coincidence? Do you reckon? Another thing, too, is that in the movie Back to the Future, when the DeLorean, the car in there, would cross time and it would come out of the time jump, right? It would be frozen, wouldn't it? But when it went in, it was leaving fire behind. Why you reckon they need a star in a bottle with temperatures that are supposedly 300 times the temperature of the sun, and at the same time they need extremely cold temperatures? These are things that make me go, So CERN, or should we say CERNunos, this is a image of supposedly CERNunos. And CERNunos, you see, he has a ring in his hand. He has antlers on his head. The reason why the antlers are on his head is because they are in the image of time. Antlers on a deer's head develop following the flow and design of the way time moves. That's something that the Holy Spirit made clear to me actually years ago. And it just happens to be that there's imagery of this symbolism also in I Pet Goat, including even a stag like this that is jumping out of fire. Here we are with the fire again. Casey over at Enter the Stars talks about fire and ice sometimes, and hopefully he'll see this, and maybe all the information together will help us both move further forward in understanding these things. So, yeah, in I Pet Goat, there is an extreme amount of ice. In I Pet Goat, isn't there? Ice, cold, frozen, just like what they're talking about here at the LHC, 271 degrees below zero. So that makes me wonder, doesn't it you? This is an image of a coin that was minted a long time ago, I suppose, of CERNunos, with horns on his head and a wheel turning here. and then swirls over here and different things like that. And then, of course, over here you have a stag or some type, either a horse or a deer or something on this coin over here, with a ladder going up on this side. Really? Can we not see yet what this symbolism means? Over the last decade plus, I've made it my mission to come to understand, to be able to see the hidden symbolism and understand it. Just like this serpent represents time as well. This looping around serpent is about time. So are the antlers, and so is this ring here with a little piece missing out. That's all time symbolism. And again, that's supposedly an image of Cernunnos. Okay. Now, Cernunnos, if we just read what comes up on Google about it, says the Celtic horned god Cernunnos is associated with the seasons and the cycle of life, the Genesis, and rebirth. So, cycles of life, that includes spring. This is for us as human beings too. We all have spring as a child. Then there's summer, where everything's got great, we're getting mature, we're getting strong, we get strong. And then there's autumn, which is where I'm at, in my timeline, where your hair starts turning a little gray, not quite as fast as you used to be, all these kind of things. And then, of course, winter. And so Cernunnos, again, is about time. It's one of the main characteristics of that. Just like what you see here. Except for this is bushes, an angel dancing in a whirlwind. He said, don't you know that there's an angel that dances in a whirlwind and directs this storm? Okay. All those words were chosen very carefully, and he probably didn't choose them. But if you look at this image, when I look at this image, this is an image of an angel, but it's a fallen angel. Okay. But it's an image of an angel because they dance. You have to look at this as 3D, three-dimensional, meaning this fire that runs around the outside here is all the way around. It's wrapped in a bubble. It's like the bubble that the good witch arrived in on the Wizard of Oz. The bubble. Those bubbles of white light you see floating around in the skies and they disappear. Sometimes they streak off. Sometimes they appear with multiples. Then they disappear. Doing all that, those are angels. Now you know. So let's see what else we can see. Most of you have seen this, okay? But I've looked at it quite a number of times, and it says, what's next? The next catastrophe. Now, why does it have a clock on the wall? Or does it have a star falling from the heavens aimed at Florida? You see it? This is the continent of the United States. Basically, it's upside down, and it's showing you Florida. You would think, well, this is the continent because it's dark. It's called reflective symbolism. They give you the opposite of what they're showing you. Okay? And so this star is pointed at the southeastern United States. That's fallen out of the heavens there in this image, right? But, of course, we have a pig and all these other things going on, volcanoes, bombs going off, solar flares. See the solar flares over here on this side? Are we seeing any of that? Does that qualify as being next? I think it does. See, this is from July of 2020 when this came out. And they showed us that the solar flares were coming. They're saying something is coming also relative to time. What's coming relative to time? Another question, see these three ducks here? Looks like three ducks, right? You see there's one here flying this way, one here, and one here. This one has a shadow. You see? The other two don't have shadows. I'm not saying that has anything to do with what I'm talking about in this video or in this live stream, but one has a shadow right here, and these other two don't have any shadows. So I kind of wonder about that. You got to look at every detail, basically, when you're doing this kind of thing. Now, back to the clock. Why is time related to the next catastrophe? And the clock shows 1 or 2 minutes to midnight is what it shows. Right at 12, whether it's midday or midnight. Now, somebody remind me what the clocks were on in iPad Goat. What were the clocks on in iPad Goat? First person that says it, I'm going to put your comment up here. Tick-tock. The clock is ticking. Speaking of tick-tock, the clock is ticking. Isn't it interesting? We have a platform called TikTok. Marigold and David got it at the same time. Yep. You got it, Marigold. Midnight. Midnight. Exactly. And Patty says 11:59. Yeah, basically it's the same thing, right? So here we go. When I first seen this imagery, I kind of ignored the clock because it's like, oh yeah, there's just a clock on the wall. No, obviously it means there's something to do with time that is the next catastrophe, meaning something to happen, right? So anyways, I wanted to show you that. Another thing too that gets ignored on this image is this electrical outlet down here. What's the next catastrophe? There is an electrical outlet here. What does that mean? Okay. Now let's look at this. This is all imagery, symbolism that the occult puts out. Now, I'm not going to talk about all these cards, okay, but this one always fascinates me here. This is an image of Trump sitting on an American flag like a toilet and sitting on America with his feet on it, okay? And he's holding an orb. The orb is fertility. It's Genesis. It's holding the lives of everyone in America in his hand. That's what that means. The rod is authority. The rod is the rod of authority, like Moses and Aaron's rods in the Bible is authority. It's like the one I have. I have a staff that's made out of ironwood that I've showed y'all guys a couple times. But this image showing Genesis in his hand with the rod of authority in his hand, sitting on top of the flag with his feet on America, should say something to you. Now, of course, cognitive dissonance is going to kick in, and cult of personality is going to kick in, and it's going to tell you, no, that somebody just drew this. It don't mean anything. Okay, well, that's not going to work out for you in the long run. You've got to be more open-minded. You've got to be willing to consider enemies in all directions. There's another card over here called the Star, and it shows like a star falling from heaven, you know, like a rock star. Somebody said that the other day. One of you guys, you know who you are. in the comments on a video. But like a rock star coming down, or what they would call a meteor or a comet or whatever, something falling out of the heavens, right? I find that interesting. Of course, all these are interesting, but we're going to continue on for now. We'll never get through what I've got to show you here. Now, when I pulled up, because I knew that there was the Illuminati playing card called Tape Runs Out. So when I pulled that up, I found a band that's out of Switzerland, or out of that area over there, that part of Europe, that's a new band, actually, and it's called Tape Runs Out. And it happens to have the image of a portal on their album cover. Okay. It looks like a fabric being manipulated, like a bubble being pushed into it, some type of fabric. And then, of course, it got the sun looking image type thing, or maybe the moon up there on the left. So again, that's interesting to me. But let me show you why that band is more interesting. I went to their Facebook page, and this image is on there. This is them. You got 6 guys, and the image is all blurred. Can you see it? See, it's blurred. You got a reflection, like an as above, so below kind of reflection, okay? Which means the way things are above is the way they are down here. They're in just a different image, different view of something, okay? But this to me looks like something merging, like 2 images merged together into one, as you can see, and it is. And you can even see their heads across the top up here, upside down. But this is something to do with time, is what it is. And then if we go to another image that was on their page, you can see you have a set of scales over here. Looks like a set of scales, like weight and balances, judgment scales. Then they've got Cernunnos down here, the horned deer or the horned deity, right? With chimes above his head representing frequency. And if I read what it says here, which I guess I'll take the time to do that, it says, tape runs out, small joys. It says, hey man, look at me go. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I am ablaze. Now, you would assume that this is written about one of the artists. It's not. Let's be open-minded. Hey man, look at me go. I'm on fire. I am ablaze. What if it's a little hard to see. What if it says, what if I miss what? Oh gosh. Hang on just a second, guys. Let me see if I can find a better image of this. Give me just a moment. This might do it, maybe. But we're going to have to watch an ad, apparently. So let's get through the ad. Here we go. Okay, pause. All right. Hey, man, look at me go. I'm on fire. I am ablaze. What if I miss? What if I misjudged? Maybe I'm already too late to do you, maybe I'm already too late. Do you want to be a ghostwriter? Do you want to be a mountaineer? Hold on. Am I drowning? Are you ready? Because I know I'm not. Do you want to be a proud father? Do you want to be worshipped? Smooth, hold on through the muddy waters. Why would we build fences? And when did we get so old? Why would we grow older at all? Hold on, I'm not ready. Do you want to go back home? You see now? Time. It's about time. These guys will put out bands like that, and they will incorporate it. They'll have their albums and all their music about what they're wanting to say. Okay? They're wanting to hide it in plain sight. This is another image off of their website. Tape runs out. And this is a veil. As you can see, it's veiling some of the people back here. And this guy back here, he's not in the same picture. You see these guys, they all look kind of dressed similar under the same light. This guy's standing out on his own back here, like he's from another dimension. He's across the veil. He's beyond the veil. This is on their album. This is one of their images from their album. So I hope you can see that. So let's keep going. These are just a couple of, or a card that I happened to run across when I was looking up the Illuminati card. That's called Time Warp Fusion. Okay. I'll just, you could pause the video if you want and read that if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and keep going here. So Back to the Future Day, October 21st. And today happens to be October 21st. And I didn't plan it out to be that way, but apparently the Holy Spirit did. Because this October 21st is apparently one of the days that the clock was set on in the time travel. Okay? In the where they were time traveling to or from, that kind of thing. So we're on Back to the Future Day today, which is amazing how the Holy Spirit works. But you do have to let it work, and you have to listen. All right. Of course, this is the Back to the Future poster. I'll say a few things about it in a second, but I'm going to read this. It says, he was never in time for his classes. He wasn't in time for his dinner. Then one day he wasn't in his time at all. You notice you got, of course, the fire, right? Fire, and the ice is there. So you have the extremes. When the car comes out of time traveling, the car is always frozen, isn't it? Yeah. And I could say a lot of things about this. There's a couple of things I will almost want to say, but I'm going to skip it. And you should be able to pick up on it from this image to this image. Has to do with the position of these two men behind each other like that. Because one of the things that I've started to come to understand is that how I said earlier, how what's above is like what's below, but it's looking at it from a different way. It has to do with everything, including sexuality. Okay? Many of you have heard me talk about it in previous videos, talking about how when the sun and the moon come together, which are extreme opposites, right? Fire and ice, basically. And when they come together, there's potential for creation to take place, a spark or a crossover of deity. And we've seen that during the eclipse. I think it's been proved pretty well. And I'll never forget, it actually got dark twice during the eclipse. Here's the image of like the DeLorean frozen, of course, when it's crossed time. And there's so much to talk about in this. I've went into decoding Back to the Future so much. There's a million things I could talk about. But let's keep kind of going here. I still got quite a bit to show y'all guys. Now here's mentioned iPet Goat, of course. If you've never seen this before, I'd recommend you checking it out, but you're not going to understand it at all. It took me a decade to figure this thing out, to completely decode it. Okay. iPet Goat, this is all symbolism for 9/11/2. Okay. Has to do with the number of blocks that are gold and the number of blocks that are white and so on. But that ain't why I brought you here. What I brought you here for is to show you a couple of things. In this video, this goat, okay, back it up just a little bit more. His eyes start spinning and his head starts spinning counterclockwise. See, watch. I'm gonna turn the sound off. See the storm in his eyes, the spinning in his eyes, the storm in his eyes. And notice that he's in a box. He's in a cube, just like Operation Warp Speed. They use the cube imagery because the cube is an image of the beast. We'll put it like that. Okay. And his head is sticking out in front of an eclipse that's taking place. You have, if you look, let me play a little bit more. You can see that he's sticking his head out of a hole, but it's shaded on the other side. See if we can see it any better. There you go. It's shaded on this side here like that. And this hole is there, and it's like the goat coming out of the sun. Okay, I know that's extreme sounding. It's just what it is. Then you'll notice you see all the, of course, this is Auschwitz. This is, you're doing time, right? You're in a prison. You're in a hot box. You got a bale on your neck, around your neck, a bale. How did the Nazis learn how to do some of the things they did? By studying frequency, by studying the bale. Okay. I heard somebody the other day say that if every church in Florida would have started ringing their church bells all over the entire state, it would have destroyed the hurricane as it came in ashore. And I'm not sure that they're not right. That would be an amazing thing when a storm was coming in for all of the churches to dong their bells, you know, and that would emit a crazy frequency, maybe a beautiful frequency into the heavens, and it very well may destroy a storm. I read that from one of you guys. So here we have Auschwitz, the symbolism for Auschwitz. They're doing time. They're in prison. Okay. And a lot of other things I could say, but I want to move forward here to let's see here. Now we're going to be, I played some of the audio from the time warp, you know, that came out back in, what was it, the 70s? And one of the phrases or the verses were it's kind of a mind split, something like that. So it's kind of a mind split. Okay. And so this kind of came to mind a little bit. Of course, evolution, which isn't necessarily what this exactly means, but evolution. And of course, they have the image of, let me see here. get the right image. You got the clock up there, and I could explain these whole scenes, what he's doing. He's showing you what happened on the first time around in 2001 in September, and then he starts showing you what's coming next, which I could get into on this video, but that's not my focus on this video. Let this play a little bit more. Of course, you see the clock up there. We're going to show it some more in a second. Ultimately, there's a lot of what you're seeing here that is about Genesis. It's about time. Just like you see the image of the gun up here at the top of the, obviously it's not a gun, but that's what I'm calling it. And he shoots 3 rounds, right? And it's right above the shark, right? And many of you will know that I've explained about the shark and what it means and what it has to do with New York City. That's on this pin mark right over here. We've got more fire imagery over here, but I wanted to look and see if we've seen anything that could be tied to a time warp or something like that. And of course, in this image right here, you've got the horned stag back here on the wall with imagery of fire around him. So you have the fire, you have Cernunnos on the wall, basically symbolism for Cernunnos. Okay, right there. And you have Alice. You have the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland right there. That's representing time again. You have Lily here sitting with the apple with the moon under her feet, sitting in an eclipse. And this is honey on the floor that goes around. And this is all, a lot of this symbolism is all tied to September. Okay. But if you think about it, this is about Genesis. This is about creation. And what does it do? Let's go over here. Let's say the apple is Genesis or time. Let's see what happens to time. Time splits, doesn't it? This video was, reason why it took 10 years to decode it is because I think that they used, actually Shannon said it, and I agree with Shannon, my co-host, that unfortunately was not able to be with us here today. She's going through a whole lot of stuff with her family in California, and she asked for me to ask y'all guys to pray for her, that Shannon and her family be protected. She's got family members, I'll just say, that are not doing well, and some of them are passing. Okay, so she's going through a lot, and I'd ask y'all guys to say a prayer for her and for Brother Dan also. But here you have Genesis splitting, time splitting, and a new creation being born. As well, all of the symbolism in this video is multi-layered as well, because this represents the lotus, of course, and the lotus is considered to be has to do with creation itself, and it has to do with destruction itself. This is why the Indian Prime Minister mentioned a while back about how with some upcoming election he was referring to, it wasn't real clear. He said that the lotus button would be pushed, and that's called the nuclear weapon button. It's this thorny looking flower here is symbolism for that, but it's also symbolism for Genesis tied in with the splitting of the apple. So you got a splitting of the apple or the atom going on here, and time as well. And what are they doing with things at CERN? They're splitting the atoms. They're breaking the atoms down into their smallest forms and looking at the creation of it. So there is that. And then, of course, you've got this showing things about what happened in that September day. You've got the shark here, shark fin and the shark's mouth, his eyes. He's moving in towards this city that has these frozen waves, this ice, everything frozen in one spot, right? And the clock is on midnight. And this again is becoming very clear that this ice thing has to do with CERN, and time is what that has to do with, as we finally have come to understand it. And let's see if there's a million things I could talk to you about on here, but I'm mainly trying to focus with like the fire and ice symbolism, because you definitely have that going on here, and creation and Genesis and solar eclipses as well. That is the yin-yang symbol. The yin-yang symbol is the symbol for an eclipse. That's showing you an eclipse taking place and war is coming, but the war is spiritual. The war is inside you. It's a war that is invisible. The war that is coming is a spiritual war. It means it's invisible. You can't see it unless you've been given the eyes to see and discern, and the ears to hear and understand my words. These are symbolism for rib cage, or inside of a body. You see the ribs on the sides. The war is within. But again, this is multi-layered, so they're showing you an eclipse as part of what's showing you when this war comes. When did the first eclipse happen here for us in the United States? In 2017, wasn't it? And then, was it 2017? When 2017? Yep. And then, of course, we had another one 7 and some odd years later, back on April 8th of this year. And so this eclipse is tied to this internal invisible war. After the first eclipse, what happened? Everybody went out and got the sticker, got the snake bite, right? Yep. Let's see here. I'll show you this real quick. It is related, but it's not related, but it is related. I'll play this and let me slow it down so you'll be able to see it better. Yeah. Let me let it play. You're going to see Draco, the dragon, here in a second. And he is, in essence, tied directly to this, which is the Antichrist. This is the embodiment that will come onto the earth. This is Draco, the dragon, and he's going to spew. He's going to draw back in a second, and he's going to spew to inside the body of man, of Genesis. He's going to draw back in a second and spew. Watch him. There he's drawn back. Now he's going to spew. He spews into the body, and it comes fire across windows from across dimensions through time, and blows that fire. And the earth opens up its mouth and receives it. You see, that's straight out of Revelations. And then as this moves forward, you can see again that this is going inside the body on the water. It's on the blood inside the body. And it is fire. Okay? And the symbolism that you see moving forward here You see the electrical things going on, and what you are is inside the body, even inside the brain. A lot of this looks like brain symbolism to me. So hopefully you have the ears to hear and the eyes to see what's happening here. This scene has always been very interesting because it shows semen. Yes, semen. Sperm. It shows the symbolism for that, and it being destroyed by this fire that's coming in, that's being spewed into the body. It's thrust in like a needle and then explodes and destroys the genesis, the recreation, the ability to create, destroys the semen. So I hope you understand that. And there's a whole lot more that I could show you here and talk about. I will go to the final scene here, though. That is where the pyramids are destroyed, which is Babylon. You got Scorpio in the sky. You got Aquila in the sky. Those are constellations. And you have the sun pulsing from the auroras. And you can see the those sparks that are coming off of the sun, because the sun and the moon came together, produced a spark, just like when a woman's egg and sperm come together, they produce a spark upon fertilization. That's what these auroras are tied to. It's the bringing forth of deity. And in this case, in this time, it is the Antichrist spirit being brought forward, along with the angels, the fallen angels. They're back. Many of the things are already going on that were going on in the days of Noah. But it ain't done yet. We're going to see unbelievable things that will happen in the coming days, including, of course, the fire coming down out of heaven, like what just struck that pyramid, or Babylon, which is the United States. You can see another fireball going right there. And our last episode of What's Next last week was talking about the fireball and all that. Let's keep going. I still have some things to show y'all guys. This is the lyrics from the Time Warp. Now, with all the things we've talked about, let's read it and see if the lyrics mean anything. It's astounding. Time is fleeting. Of course, right on time, of course. And we're talking about the time warp. Makes sense so far, right? Madness takes its toll. And where are we headed right now in this world? You can see it. Manina Bridge. Madness. We can see it on the streets. But listen closely. Not for very much longer. I've got to keep control. I remember doing the time warp. What they're saying here is that they've got the records of when time has went through this before. They have these, however they were able to keep it, whether it was scrolls, or whether it was something else, or whether it's just the fallen angels themselves informing them somehow in communication. They remember, and they know what's coming, and they know they only have a small amount of time. Says, I remember doing the time warp, drinking those moments when the blackness would hit me and the void would be calling. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again. Meaning it repeats. It's just a jump to the left, and we're talking about time. Jump to the left, and then a step to the right. The jump to the left is a completely new point where whatever we're talking about is, and we're talking about time. So time jumps to the left, and then only 1 foot, half of it, which is then called a step to the right. So 1 foot still stays, 1 step's off to the right, and blends in with the previous spot where you were standing. Then it says, put your hands on your hips. You bring your knees in tight. And if you do this standing up, you'll see the position you're in. But then it confirms what I'm talking about. But it's the pelvic thrust that drives you insane. And here we are, it's talking sexual, right? And it's also talking about dimensions in another dimension. I'll read the rest of that in a second. But it's talking about creation. Genesis is talking about what we're talking about. You see? And I appreciate y'all guys being here. I see there is a literal pile of people here today again. And I appreciate that. And that's why I only do 1 show a week, even though I do put out quite often a lot of other videos. I do 1 show so I can focus and bring you something worthy of your time. Okay. So it says, it's so dreamy. Oh, fantasy, free me. So you can't see me. No, not at all. And everything they're saying here, this was written by the occult. Okay. This wasn't just a band who decided to do the time warp. This is like that band that's called, what was, can't remember myself now. The tape ran out, whatever it was. Okay. In another dimension with voyeuristic, so you're talking sexual intention, well secluded, meaning hidden, but it says, I see all. It says, with a bit of a mind flip, you're into a time slip. Now you see why I chose some of the names for this video today. And nothing can ever be the same. You're spaced out on sensation like you're under sedation. Let's do the time warp again. It says it twice. And then it says, well, I was walking down the street just having a think when a snake of a guy gave me an evil wink. Who do we know that loves to read poems about snakes and likes to go around grabbing kitties? I know somebody's going to get mad and run off because I said something that they have a knee-jerk cult of personality reaction to. You can't be around on this channel if you're not going to have an open mind. But you also can't have an open mind if you're not willing to listen to my words and consider them. Keep what you can use and throw the rest in the trash. Well, I was walking down the street just having a think when a snake of a guy gave me an evil wink. He shook me up, meaning, woo. He took me by surprise. Woo. He had a pickup and the devil's eyes. He stared at me and I felt a change. Time meant nothing. Never would again. And of course, this makes me think of Operation Warp Speed, as well as a lot of other things there. And it goes on to do the step to the left stuff and do the time warp again. But it's the pelvic thrust that really drives you insane. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to have a quick little drink of water. Still got some more stuff to show you. So, very interesting lyrics, right, guys? And yes, of course, I've seen somebody say Trump is a time traveler. Have y'all guys ever, I know most of you have, or a lot of you have, but might be some that haven't, so I'll mention it. The books that were supposedly written, I think it's Mandela effect stuff, but supposedly written in the late 1800s, and it talks about Trump, and it's one of them's called The Last President, and another one's called, and you can look it up by that if you look up The Last President. I'm trying to think of the name of the author. Here, let's just look it up. The Last President. Ingersoll Lockwood, right? Okay, so Last President. And then there was a couple of other books. One of them had a character in it. There was a little boy called Barron. But that's just coincidence. Right? Couldn't be any truth or anything in there. But it talked about the last president. He was elected, and there was all this people were raging in the streets, but he was the last president, and he lived in New York City on Fifth Avenue in the book. Now, who is it that lives in New York City on Fifth Avenue? Oh yeah, that's Trump. Yeah, that's right. Few images. This is Barron Trump with his little dog, right? It's very fascinating. It's like one of these Mandela things. And in the book, I think it's the Great Adventures of Barron or something like that. Where's that? Should be listed here. One of the books talks about it. Talks about time travel. Okay, and where Barron goes to this place and goes through this like portal and time travels. So, anyways, not going to spend too much time on that, and I don't need to explain that because I already did about a hop to the left and one step back. So, and you're talking about your feet in this case are time. Now, is the time warp thing still a big thing, or are they still? Is this still really popular, and are they still really pushing it? Well, I do a Google search for time warp, and it says time warp takeover Barry Bostwick to lead Rocky Horror riot at Bailey's in Las Vegas. And that's 4 days ago. And it says, let's do the time warp again. This was 2 days ago. Time is fleeting. And they're doing it in Thousand Oaks in California, I think. It's time to do the time warp again 1 day ago. And here is 27 minutes ago talking about time warp again. And of course, it goes on and on and on and on. And they've got these shows going on all over. This is imagery from the band Tape Runs Out. Okay. This is them putting on their show. And of course, you got all this heliotrope skies here. And you got all this looks like lightning and fire and stuff going on, of course. Kind of like what we got going on, well, right now. Here's another one. Again, the use of heliotrope. They got the pyramid going on back there. They love their pyramids. Like Angela Merkel, she does that pyramid thing with her hands. And so do all of the other ones. See, Angela Merkel is Adolf Hitler's granddaughter. And he has two other daughters running two other countries over there. And they all like doing the pyramid thing because it came out of Bavaria, Bavaria, Germany, where the creation of the Illuminati was created in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt. And the pyramid thing with their hands was their symbolism for I'm in your gang, but they know that Americans and other regular people would never ever figure out that somebody that did pyramid hands was saying I'm in that club, the hidden hand club, or the hidden Hitler club in a way. Here's another image from that concert. Looked like CERN when they cranked that sucker up. This is just a magazine cover I ran across talking about the time warp, and just thought I would show it. And they look like they're fighting some kind of green monster or something, but kind of pay attention to a lot of different things. You know how lately everything is the X, right? X everything, right? What about Time X? You think that name was timely? Do you think that name was on purpose? Time X. With all the watches set to 10:09 and 56 seconds, or very close to there, pretty much all of them. Like over here, 10:09, 56 seconds, and the date is always 10:14. When you look at other watches, see like this one, 10:14, 10:09 and 36 seconds. And there's a reason for that. It means something. And it normally is a Wednesday on the clock. 10:09 and 36 seconds, 10:14 on a Wednesday. Anybody want to look up and see when the next Wednesday falls on 10:14 or 10:09? But keep in mind that they might not be talking about the Gregorian calendar. They might be talking about the Hebrew calendar or another calendar. But I always thought it was very interesting that Time X puts their clocks always on this same numbers. Don't you think that's interesting? Let's see, I've got a couple of other images too from that band, if this will work. Let me try to open them up here. I'm doing it on a different screen. This is another album cover for Time Runs Out, or Tape Runs Out, which is actually Time Runs Out. And that's very CERN-ish, or Tree of Life kind of looking thing, isn't it? Of course it is, because that's what they mean. They're referring to time when they say tape runs out. And let's see. I think I had yeah, here we go. Here's another band that plays with these same guys. Tape Runs Out sometimes plays with them in concerts, and they put out an album called Time Port or Gateway or whatever. And notice that there's a bridge kind of here. Looks like a bridge, but it says Time Port Influence, meaning they're influencing time, is what that means. But no, Daniel, it's just an album cover. Well, this actually is in the image of a portal itself, just like CERN. You see, you got the eclipse right in the center. Here's your eclipse. And you have like the portal here. You got the pyramid, of course. All the symbolism is there, wouldn't you say? All right, let's see here. Um, I thought I'd show this too. It's basically unrelated, but one of you guys had sent this in. It was a picture of a star that was up in the sky. It was actually a video, but I just took an image to show it to you. And this is what the star looked like upon magnification. Now, of course, there's some distortion and this and that, but that's pretty interesting looking. And I've seen some others that are very interesting looking as well. Let's see what else I got for you here. I want to remind y'all guys, if you got any pictures of the comet or any kind of pictures that are very interesting, supernatural, or something that you think I'd want to see, I'd really like for y'all guys to submit those. You can text them to me at the 843-284-3343. I don't take phone calls on that number. But if you wanted to call me, if you really need to get a hold of me, you can call me at 843-402-8827. And I do try to take phone calls as much as I can. I know it's got to be very rare for someone that's got as many followers as I have that actually takes phone calls directly from their viewers. It's because this show is for y'all guys. All this research and all this work is for y'all guys. Okay. Now, if you've got a supernatural story that you would like to share with me and or with everybody, you can submit it on the website as well. The website is TheSupernatural.Show, and you can submit it there. And please, if it don't bother you too much, can you at least hit the thumbs up button for me? And if you like the content that I'm putting out, maybe even share it and subscribe if you're new here. Now, I'm running live on 8 platforms right now. I'm live on 2 Facebook pages, my personal one and my Logic Before Authority page. And I'm running live on 2 YouTube channels, The Supernatural Show and Logic Before Authority. I'm running live on the Instagram, DLive, Kick Live, or Kick.com, and another one I can't remember at the moment. And also keep in mind that this channel is completely ran off of the support from y'all guys. I do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've been doing it for over a decade. I haven't done nothing else of any kind other than this work for the people, trying to bring everybody as much information as I can about the things that, because y'all guys buy me this freedom, it allows me to do this. And so I bring it back to you. I know y'all guys enjoy what I'm showing you today and talking about because you're still here. There's literally across all platforms, thousands of you watching live, which is amazing on YouTube, especially when you're shadow banned like I am. So if you're new around, go check out the website. It's better on a computer. It's better that way. Okay. And with all that being said, I hope now again, I'm still not saying that they can or will do something like this. They've done the Mandela effect. And I can see that they are definitely trying to do this. There's a flower life kind of thing here. And they're trying to do what we're talking about. Will Father allow it? They think so, because it says when the rapture comes, they're going to make us wait. They're going to alter time somehow. And I know that sounds freaky and crazy, and because it sounds freaky and crazy to me. But this is the job that Father has kept me alive for, because I tried to kill myself many times. Not like on purpose, but just doing dumb stuff. I've not been a perfect man my entire life. Thank you, Susan. I greatly appreciate that. I better check and make sure there's no other super chats or anything, because I just happened to notice that one pop up. Thank you, Susan. Susan she gets it and she appreciates it, and Susan shows it. She contributes to the show fairly often. And Susan, I thank you very much. And honestly, I thank all of you. Anything you do, like sharing this video or thumbsing it up or anything, is benefiting it, is awesome. And just you viewing, even if you don't understand or think maybe that dude's crazy, just keep coming back and listening, because over time I'll explain enough of these things to you in different ways where you'll really start to come to understand what it is that I'm talking about and what it is that I'm trying to show you. Okay? Because it's important. That's why you're here, because you know something's up, something's going on, right? And I'm on your side, and I'm doing everything I can 7 days a week for over 10 years now to try to figure it out. I gave up I used to make, on average, it was about $20,000 up to about $80,000 a month in the real estate industry. I gave all that up to suffer financially, because I knew I had to do it, and I knew I'd be rewarded in heaven. And I also knew that Father would make a way somehow for me to be able to survive financially. And it ain't easy, but every time I'm basically completely about destitute, one of y'all guys always steps in out of nowhere and say, "Hey, Daniel, here's $50. And I'm like, "Thank you, Father," because I just had that faith. And I've asked for donations straight out in videos before, and that's not what I'm doing here, but it's that faith and knowing you just got to keep going. And it's been hard. This last 6 months ago was really hard. Oh, I think I just got a gift from Deborah Herndon. Thank you, Deborah. And thank you, Robin. Robin just gifted me. Robin West, thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the support, because I can't do this without y'all guys. So, and I've dedicated myself to it. Anybody that's been around long knows I've been here a long time. This is going to the end for me. I don't have any other options as to what I can do, because my mind can't imagine doing anything else other than trying to figure this out and bring it to y'all guys. Got a message here. Daniel, I do not have a phone. Can I still share my story? Yes, you can. The way you would do that. Thank you, Angie girl. I greatly appreciate your donation as well. Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Susan. And I don't still have the other notification up on my screen here from the other person, but I greatly appreciate it. Yes, you can still share your story. And the way you can do it, well, there's several ways. You don't have a phone, so you're on a computer of some kind. So if you're on a computer, you can go to the website. Just simple as that. Go to the website, TheSupernatural.Show. And I'll show you where to go. Here. Let's go to the website real quick. So here you are at the website. I just got an image from you, Robin. Thank you. Go to the website, and if you come right here, it says, well, let me close that. Come right here under TSS, means the Supernatural Show, submissions, submit story. So you go to submit story, and then you come down here, fill out your information. Tell me whether you'd like to be a guest on the show or not, or if you just want me to read it on the show, which I will do. I've read over 63 pages worth of stories from y'all guys, and we're creating a book out of it. So if you have a testimony of things that have happened in your life, supernatural or just straight up testimony like you would tell in church, you can write that in. You can also upload any kind of photo or pictures or anything you want to with it, and or give me a link to a video if you wanted to, and then you just submit it, and I'll get it, and I'll be in contact with you. I'll at least need an email if I am going to get back with you. But even if you don't have that, if you can get to the website, you can come here and put your story in here, and I'll be able to read it on the show, on one of the shows, okay? So that's how you do that. Let me come back over to the comments for a moment. Native Americans are, I think they are ancient Egyptians. There's several places in the United States where substantial amounts of Egyptian antiquities have been found that were thousands and thousands of years old. And so on these time cycles we go through that they know about, like I've talked about, the Egyptians were here because their antiquities are here. One of the places is right where it's called Little Egypt. There's a guy on YouTube that's got videos out showing a lot of his antiquities that he's found in different caves there in Little Egypt in southern Illinois. Also in the Grand Canyon, they found caves with all kinds of stuff in it. Of course, you know, they swoop in and try to collect all this stuff normally and put it in some museum. We'll never get to see it, you know. All right. So let me take another look at the comments here. Yeah, do not fear, says the Lord. That is right. Do not fear. Nothing that's going to happen, as long as you've got your connection with Father and you talk to him every once in a while, like they call it prayer. What it is communicating with your supernatural Father that can hear all of us at the same time and be here for all of us at the same time. So let's see. Someone said the sleeping giant is Egyptian Anunnaki. You can tell by the shape of his head. Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that cone head thing is tied to them somehow, isn't it? Yeah. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you all. Seriously, thank you for being here. There's a big crowd here today. In the last 30 days, we've doubled our audience, our viewership, and that's pretty awesome. And one of the ways y'all guys can help too is that anytime if you leave comments, if you really want to, if you're really down for supporting what I'm doing, but maybe you can't financially, what you can do is anytime you leave a comment on any video out there anywhere, at the bottom of your comment, just hit space and go down one line and type in TheSupernatural.Show. And it'll make people curious. And that's what I've been doing on any time I leave comments anywhere, like even if I'm over on Enter the Stars channel, Casey, whatever, I'll put TheSupernatural.Show at the bottom of any comment I leave anywhere. So if you can remember it and get in the habit of it, that's a way that you can really support the show, because it'll drive more people here so we can get more information to these people that currently aren't here and they need it. And there's a lot of people that need to hear these truths. And I know you know that. Because there's a lot of people that are seeking truth that are still completely deceived. They're legitimately seeking the truth, yet the snake has still got them. It is crazy and amazing. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all guys go. I love you. I have as you may have noticed, I created a new intro and I also have a new updated outro. So here we go with that. Talk to you later. I love you guys.